co-defendant and co-conspirator of Alice in Crimes Grimes. I met with Mr. Adams because I wanted to let him know that I was strongly considering running for Secretary of State, and I knew he was someone with the same ambition. So upon hearing that I was a potential rival, Mr. Adams panicked. He began by offering me a six-figure bribe to not run against him.
Shannon Cogan with Wave 3 News in Louisville.
And I'm Bill Bryant from WKYT in Lexington.
Mr. Bashir.
A pension is a promise, and I was raised that when you make a promise, you keep that promise.
Hot topic in the Commonwealth right now is marijuana in various forms. And so let's have this question. Do you support any legalization of marijuana? Can that or the expanded availability of CBD oil be a part of the solution to the opioid epidemic? We begin with Mr. Bashir.
So these are going to be the responses that the four Democratic candidates for Kentucky's governor had said to the question, what do you think about marijuana? And do you think it could help with opioids? So what do you think about the legalization of marijuana and opioid connection? Is there a connection? So Andy Bashir supports medical marijuana. He says he's the first Kentucky Attorney General that supports it. He thinks that medical marijuana provides alternatives to opioids. In fact, he had said that opioids are so bad that they don't even help with chronic pain, which that isn't true. Ask old people that have chronic pain. Oxycontin, Percocet, Vicodin, these are painkillers. So that's not true that opioids doesn't help with chronic pain. In fact, I would make the argument it's probably better. Painkillers are better with pain than marijuana. But I am glad that Andy Bashir has finally come around and he's at least in favor of medical marijuana, which overall is a weak position because when it comes to cancer, when it comes to epilepsy, when it comes to glaucoma, when it comes to these specific diseases, people say, you know, go with medical marijuana. You're being disingenuous. Legalize, all marijuana or don't legalize it at all. When it comes to medical marijuana, sure, the big, ailments, the big diseases, yeah, everybody's on board with helping people who's got, big diseases. What about anxiety? What about people that suffer with anxiety? What about people that suffer with depression? What about insomnia, right? I would say anxiety is a low-level ailment. Insomnia is a low-level ailment. Depression's a whole other animal. But insomnia and anxiety, when Andy Bashir and Rocky Atkins, when they talk about the legalization of medical marijuana, are they talking about anxiety and insomnia? Can you get a prescription from a doctor for insomnia or anxiety? There's also, bulimics or anorexics to help induce appetite. Are these the type of things that we're talking about when it comes to medical marijuana? Because if you're not talking about that, then it's not going to be like California where essentially everybody could get medical marijuana. Where it was very easy for people to get for many years before, full-blown legalization came out.
I support medicinal marijuana, and as Kentucky's top law enforcement official, I've been the first Attorney General to support medicinal marijuana. And I'll tell you why. Over the last 3.5 years, I've talked to far too many people who have lost their children to a fatal overdose. We lose 30 Kentuckians a week. I'm the dad of an 8 and 9-year-old. When I think of 30 Kentuckians, I think of their class, which is right under 30. We have more kids in kinship care and foster care than ever before. It is tearing our families apart, and it wasn't more than a mile from here where I pulled an overdosing man from a car and watched him die in front of me. He didn't breathe for 3 minutes until Narcan brought him back. What medicinal marijuana can do is help chronic pain patients because opioids do not work for chronic pain. We're going to prove that in my 9 lawsuits. And while we provide that to them, we will not be stocking their medicine cabinets with these dangerous pills because, folks, 80% of new addiction still comes from pills. The true driving source of addiction is in our medicine cabinets and not on the streets. This will help, but there is a lot more to be done.
And if it's going to be like California, that's good. But if it's going to be another CBD bullshit bill, fuck that CBD bullshit bill. That CBD is just it comes from hemp, right? So it's a different kind of marijuana. You raise it differently. But CBD comes from hemp, and it doesn't use the full plant medicine. You got an endocannabinoid system. And so CBD is only one tiny little bit of medical marijuana that helps people So if that's, what they're talking about, Rocky Atkins and Andy Beshear, then I am not for that kind of medical marijuana. It should be recreational. It should be legalized across the board. Adam Edelin, he said, of course the critically and chronically ill need their weed. They need to get their puff on. They need that dank stuff. So they said to get off of opioids, you need medical marijuana. Again, you don't need it, right? Vaping would probably help you get off of, a lot of stuff. Vaping helps with anxiety. So vaping would help get off cigarettes and opioids and marijuana. Really, just find a good hobby, right? Drink water. Get into a habit of drinking water. That'll help you get off of, the stuff that you're addicted to. Do meditation and drink water. Adam Edelin makes a strong point against Andy Beshear's plan. I inferred this, but Adam Edelin said that he'll never tax medical marijuana. So Adam Edelin will never tax medical marijuana. So that implies that Andy Beshear is for a tax on medical marijuana. I'm not sure if Rocky Atkins is for a tax on medical marijuana too. Adam Edelin is for the decriminalization of a half ounce of marijuana. So between the four candidates, he's the top two progressive when it comes to marijuana. Rocky and Andy are for medical marijuana. And one quick point about medical marijuana, if you apply to get a medical marijuana card, are they going to take away your guns? They're going to take away your freedom? So because you want to, have your beer, your version of a beer at the end of the night, a joint, now you have the rest of your rights are being taken away. So medical marijuana is a weak position. It's not courageous. It's some bullshit triangulation, right? Well, therefore, full-blown, therefore, keeping it illegal, I'm going to try to meet in the middle. Well, the medical marijuana is not meeting in the middle. I think Adam Edelin meets in the middle pretty well. He is for decriminalizing a half ounce of marijuana. So you're allowed to carry half an ounce of marijuana on you and, take it home. If they catch it with you, they can't say nothing. So that would be a major change for Kentucky. Decriminalization is not full-blown legalization. You're not going to have stores all over the place, which is something Adam Edelin had said previously. He says he doesn't want marijuana stores on Main Street. Why not? You have liquor stores on Main Street, so that's his concern, right? You don't want to rush out and just legalize everything. You don't want to just give the people freedom. You don't want to just give the Kentucky people whose number one cash crop is marijuana complete freedom. Of course you don't want to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Edelin.
I think in a civil society, the critically and chronically ill deserve every comfort available to them, and I also don't think that you can meaningfully fight a battle on addiction without offering the alternative of medical marijuana. And while Andy and I agree on the legalization of medical marijuana, where we part company is that I think medical marijuana, by its very definition, is medicine. And I'll never be a governor that supports taxing medicine. The notion that we would look for a woman who's dealing with stage 4 breast cancer, trying to get through her chemotherapy by smoking marijuana, and tell her that we need her to pay an additional tax on top of that, just doesn't seem to me fair or right. But going a step further, I'm the only candidate who has endorsed decriminalizing small amounts of marijuana. We no longer can afford a criminal justice system that spends tens of millions of dollars every year prosecuting those who have small amounts of marijuana in their possession. It's time that we have a system that is more efficient, more fair, less self-defeating, and less expensive.
But he is the number 2 top progressive when it comes to marijuana. The number 1 progressive when it comes to marijuana is, of course, Jeff Young. So Jeff Young, he supported Gatewood Galbraith when he was running. So he wasn't one of those assholes that was like laughing at Gatewood because Gatewood was right? It's an obvious idea, and Colorado's been making, shit ton of money, millions, billions. They've been making bank. So Jeff Young is the only candidate of the Democrats that is for the complete legalization of marijuana across the board, both medical marijuana and recreational marijuana, both for those people who need it for medicine and those people who just want to have a good time. So Jeff Young also agrees with Adam Edelin when it comes to taxing medical marijuana. So I think it's an attack on Andy, but it could be on both, right? Andy and Rocky both support medical marijuana. And Rocky Atkins had said that he co-sponsored a bill for medical marijuana. So there's an actual bill out there with specific details. So the answer is out there. Rocky Atkins is also pro-life, and he's a homophobic bigot. But he says since he had cancer and had to go through chemotherapy, you know, he used to be opposed to marijuana, but since he had to go through the shit that a lot of people have to go through, now he's for it, right? So it has to hit Rocky Atkins. It has to hit the personal life of Rocky Atkins before he realizes that this is a problem.
Mr. Adkins.
Bill, I stand on this stage as a 24-year cancer survivor. Somebody that's had chemo and somebody that's had radiation and those needles in my arm. It took me a while to get to the point of where I am today without a lot of study and looking at the scientific and medical evidence of the legalization of medical marijuana. And I support that. I support it because of the relief that it brings to those who are suffering from illness or chronic pain or whatever the issue may be, and that should be the top priority as we look at the legalization of medical marijuana. It's a shame in the Kentucky General Assembly that that issue has not been brought to a vote. I was a proud co-sponsor of that bill because of my own types of relationships that I've had through my life and the sickness I experienced through chemo medicines and radiation. So the study I have done not to bring that bill to the floor and allow the House to vote and the Senate to pass that, in my opinion, was the wrong approach. I support it. It's the right thing to do. I've been convinced that it brings relief to those who need it most.
Thank you, Mr.
But, you know, like Andy Bashir, I'm glad Rocky Atkins has evolved on this issue. But both Adam Edelin and Jeff Young are against taxing medical marijuana. So Jeff Young agrees with Adam Edelin on that issue. And Jeff Young also wants an expansion of the hemp production. So he recognizes that hemp is legal now in Kentucky, and he wants to expand the production. So not just one or two people that could raise hemp. Let everybody raise some, you know, have marijuana gardens all over the place. Now, I want you to watch this clip. They explain all their marijuana answers, but watch Jeff Young. After Jeff Young answers his question, he's going to challenge the other two candidates who he has been calling crooks the whole time he's been in the campaign. He said it 2 or 3 times at the debate. He's going to challenge them with a specific challenge. And then they're going to answer. And their answers were, you know, decent. They responded. They said something. But it was pretty remarkable. It was pretty courageous. And Jeff Young confronted Adam Edelin and Andy Bashir because they had been ostracizing him out of the race, out of the debates, out of the functions, out of the meetings, out of the literature, just pretending he's not even in the race. So watch this clip all the way to the end and watch what Jeff Young does.
Young.
My running mate is Josh French. He's from Elizabethtown. He is one of the co-founders of the Heartland Progressive Alliance. And for the last couple of years, one of their top issues has been complete legalization of cannabis. That would be both medicinal and recreational. I'm the only Republican or Democrat now calling for the complete legalization of marijuana across the board because on the recreational side, we can get some state revenue by taxing it. I agree we should not be taxing medicinal marijuana. And also I support the expansion of industrial hemp production in Kentucky. So I'm going to take this opportunity to ask Adam Edelin and Andy Bashir to drop out of this race because a crook has no chance against Matt Bevin in November.
Okay, let me give just a quick response if you want to that quickly.
Bless his heart.
I've beaten Matt Bevin time and time again, and I'll do it in November.
All right, Shannon.
All right, let's talk about the cost of health care.